Testing. All right, we're live. Let's start. Okay. Right. Yeah, my throat is a little bit sore. I have like a slight cold, so hopefully that won't be too much of a problem here. Yeah, anyway, welcome to the stream. So yeah, I've been working on this sort of scene editor, which is part of my game editor that I'm building for my game to make it more easy to define stuff in the game. And it's also, I think, I love making tools and like tools for helping in development. And yeah, this is a way to make things more efficient, and also it's fun. And so yeah, I'm gonna make small like improvements whenever it's needed, and then I can use that in the game development. So this scene editor is, the idea is that you create a scene, which is basically you have a tile map, or I guess in theory you can have multiple tile maps stitched together, and you can drag in a bunch of entities, and in the long run you'll be able to set like different properties and stuff like that depending on what type of entity you have, stuff like that. So but for now I just have it really basic, and this first version that I did yesterday, I believe it was, yeah, last time I streamed, we managed to get a bunch of stuff going. So we have this scene document that is basically, yeah, holds all the stuff needed to edit the scene and also keep the data of the scene. And we are able to create entities by dragging and dropping them from a menu into the scene. And we also have a position for each entity, a type. We have also able to draw the graphics so that we can see what type of entity we have. And the type is super basic, so it's like very hard coded right now to match the game. You can't really set anything, you can just drag in the new entities and that's it. So this time I'm looking to extend this a little bit. And I can also just show you a little bit here. So let's start this up. Oh, right, this is not the scene editor. Let's change the mode from tile map to scene. Yeah, there's also no way in the tool itself to actually open up a scene file or anything like that to start working on it. You have to switch it like this for now, but that's also gonna be something that we're gonna change in the future once we figured out different ways of doing that. Okay, so here you can see we've loaded in, we're basically hard coding in right now the tile map and also the player here, and then you can drag in new entities like this and place them wherever you want. You can either have them snap to the grid, or you can hold shift to place them wherever you want. So we can have a bunch of NPCs around here and stuff. And you can also put in monsters or more players, but that doesn't make sense. So I mean, you should only have one player. But yeah, anyway, it's just this super basic functionality. It's up to the user to actually do it correctly. But what I want to add for this time is probably being able to maybe move the entities once you have them in here. Probably the tile map is gonna be like fixed. Maybe. Well, to start with, I would think that should be the case. But in the future, I think that, yeah, you could like potentially add several time maps into one scene and have them be next to each other, so you can like make up a level of multiple time maps, perhaps. But and then, yeah, so I want to be able to move the entities around. So I'm wondering if I should have sort of like a selected, because you're gonna have one entity that's sort of like focused, which that you're dragging around. And one second here. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, you might hear some noise in the background. It's just my family. They're going out somewhere. But anyway, we're gonna continue with this. So, yeah, I think I'm like, I don't have a super detailed plan or anything this stream, so I'm just gonna work on some stuff like adding things to this functionality here. So I think I'll add moving entities. So I think, yeah, I definitely want, I think definitely if we're gonna be able to move, we're also gonna be able to like click on an entity to focus on it and then be able to move it around. And so that's what I'm thinking. Like, it should probably be pretty easy to add select entity. And I think we're gonna start with just having one entity selected for now, and we might add multi-select in the future. And then I also want to be able to delete entities, because that's gonna be pretty easy once you have once you can select an entity. It's pretty easy to implement to delete an entity as well. I guess we can call this move entity. So I think I want to start with select entity actually. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, where do we want to have that? I think in the scene document, probably. I think in the scene document, we want to have basically all state, basically history, if you're gonna have history on the scene, and anything like any UI related stuff or editor related stuff is gonna be in here. And in this part, the scene is actually where the data of the scene is, like what's required for saving and loading the scene, basically, and importing it into the game later as well. So yeah, so this drag payload is what we added yesterday, and this is for creating a new entity. Also, I want to do this before I forget, so I also want to go into layout, because we were trying yesterday when we created the create entity functionality to handle like drag and drop stuff, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to disable the drag sort of image that we have when we drag, and it's gonna be this one. So here we have our drag drop source, which is the menu on the left side. The images that you see is this image, but then you also have a drop source, which means that whatever item was before, I guess, is now a drag and drop source. And here you can paint stuff, like here you can paint a thing that's gonna be shown in the, like when you're dragging and dropping, so that you can see that something is being dragged and dropped. But I think we're just gonna delete this and not show that, because we already have sort of like a visual on that. And I'm just gonna test how this looks. Yeah, you can see there's still like a thing, like a little window there that shows that you're dragging something. So that's totally fine. So yeah, I really like that change. I don't want this. This was just from like an example that I had, and yeah. So now that looks good. Okay, so let's go back to the scene document now. Okay, so we want to be able to select entities. So I think what we want to do is I want to have selected entities. So it's going to be a list, because I don't want to have to change that later. It's definitely going to be a list of entities in the future. So I'm just going to create it as a list now and avoid having to deal with it later. And just treat it as you can only have one selected right now. Well, we'll deal with it when the time comes. So this is going to be an array list of, and I guess this could be either pointers to the entities. Yeah, that seems, wait, but if it's pointers, yeah. So what I'm contemplating here is having it serializable, but I don't think this part is not going to be serialized into saving like the state of the scene document. So it's like when you're restoring the editor, you want to restore it into sort of a state, but is selected entities a important enough thing to restore? I don't think I need to work, like, it doesn't really matter that much to do it right now. We can always change it later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say that this, to make it like easiest right now, I'm just gonna say that this is a pointer to the entities. Okay. And here we are going to say selected entities is going to be array list, pointer to scene entity, and we're gonna just initialize this to an empty buffer. Okay, so now we have a place to store the selected entities. And now we actually need to deinitialize. Oh yeah, does scene have a deinitialize? No, it doesn't. We do have an array list here, so we should actually deinitialize this properly. So let's just do that right now. So this is just going to be entities deinitialize. Oh yeah, we need the allocator as well. Okay. And this one we don't need to deinitialize. This is just a sort of primitive. Okay. And then we can deinitialize this one. And we need to provide an allocator here as well. And we also need to deinitialize selected entities. There. We need to import import allocator. All right. So now we need to provide the allocator here. So this is going to be self.allocator. Okay. And now we have a bunch of errors. So this needs to be that. And now this needs to be mutable. Okay. There we go. And so now, so now we have this list of selected entities. So now we need to populate it. Once we click on an entity, we want to put that entity in there. So I think we want to make some helper functions for that. So let's go down here and we'll add like select entity. And of course it's going to be immutable since we're going to change stuff here. And yeah, we'll provide with some sort of entity. And I guess, yeah, it has to be a pointer since our list of selected entities has is a list of pointers. So let's just, well, select entity. I think we want to, well, in the future we want to have like, do you want to replace the existing? Do we want to add this to the current selection? But I think for now we're just gonna always replace. So actually, is there a way to clear and free? I think we want to clear. Yeah, this one should be pretty good. Yeah. So this one, yeah, it just sets length to 0, which is great. And then we can say, oh, now we need an allocator as well. We should probably keep the allocator in the document itself to avoid using like different allocators. But I'm just gonna do it like this for now. Okay, and then we just pass the entity in there. So now we can select the entity. And let's go to our layout now. And we'll go to handle input for the document, scene document. Right, so this if is for creating a an entity. So I'll actually put that in here. Scene document handle create entity. Handle input, I guess we can call it this. It's a bit convoluted name, I guess, but just to make it more readable from here, this point of view. I usually do this, like go through, when you go to old code and you see like stuff like that, and at the time you knew exactly what it was, but now I wanted to change it to make it more readable later on, so that I know what this like sort of if thing is actually doing. because it's not immediately obvious, but I still remembered it. So, but anyway, we also want to handle, well, actually, yeah, if we don't have a drag payload and we click on something, then we want to select that. So I think if we create a function that's gonna be select entity, I guess. So here we want to say if we don't have anything in our drag thing, if we're not dragging in something, well, this is going to be if this is, let's do it like this. If it's not equal to null, that means we have something dragging, so we can just return. And we get here once we have we know that we're not creating something. So now we want to check if I think we just do on mouse down, pressed. So pressed is the edge detection, like it's the instant when you press the click, like when you press down on the button, the first frame where you press down. And then we're gonna say I think, yeah, this is gonna be like we're gonna need to actually find the entity that's in this position. So yeah, and we don't really well, Raylib does have helpers, I guess, for that. We do have like rectangle, you can create a rectangle and then have collision checks on that. There's also, I think, collision check, collision point rec, I guess would be a good fit here, because the rectangle is going to be the entity. So we're gonna do if this, and the point is going to, so we have get mouse position, so that's the point, except it's not a Raylib point. So I think what I want to do is I want to maybe create a helper function for this instead. So let's do that. Let's do is point inside entity, maybe entity rect. And actually point, let's do like, maybe we should just say mouse position, is mouse position. Let's do it like super super specialized right now. So I believe we need the context and we also need the entity. Okay, and let's, we don't need to have it mutable. And let's do this. So that's the mouse position. That's the point that's sort of in the world space, I believe. And then we want the rectangle. And I think we want this to be, yeah, so the thing is, I'm working sort of both with Raylib vectors and sig vectors, and this is a sig vector, so we have to convert this to a Raylib vector, and I don't have a convenience function for that, so we are just going to say RL point for arraylib is going to be vector2, and this is going to be 0.0, 0.1, and since these are integers right now, what we also could do is we can say this is a f32 now, and then we need to cast it, so float from int. So you can cast this vector. So now this is produced from a integer vector, but you can cast it to a float vector, and now this is a float, so we can use it directly into the arraylib vector here. Okay, and then that's the point that we need to be looking at, and now we need to have, now we have the rectangle of the entity. So entity has a position, and we also have, let's see if I remember, yeah, so we do have from the scene, yeah, it's a bit convoluted the way we are getting this information, but we do have size, and that's get size from entity type. So we need to pass in entity type here, and now we have the size of the entity, which is a arraylib vector, so that's really good. And this is also, no, it's not arraylib vector. Okay, this one we need to convert as well. So let's do entity position, and let's convert this into a f32 vector as well. With all these casts, it looks a bit messy, but yeah, I can't be bothered to fix that very nicely right now. I just want this to work right now. We can fix it up later. So the rectangle now, so this is, the rectangle is like where in the world is the entity. And so we're gonna do entity position x and position y, and then the width is size, and this is actually a arraylib vector, so you have to say size dot x, size dot y. Okay, and there's probably going to be some origin shenanigans that we need to fix here as well, but now we can just return check collision point rec. So let's give our point and our rectangle there, and let's go back here, and instead of doing this, we can now call this is mouse position inside empty rectangle, and the end. All right, so now also, yeah, so okay, we need to loop through all the entities, I guess. So let's do that. Scene, entities, items. Okay, so that's our entity, and if that is in there, so this is already a pointer, so that's good. Okay, then we break, and we also yeah, we now call our select entity function with the entity, and we give the context of allocator here. All right, so hopefully now we got selection working, but we don't have any visual representation of that, so we need to implement that as well. Oh, we also need to call this function up here. Okay. So if we go back to our main layout function, And let's see. Yeah, I think if we go in here, this is where we draw the scene on sort of the canvas. We're drawing all the entities, and this is this is like the create payload thing. We can draw the selected entity here, maybe, after we've drawn all the entities. So we're gonna say, I mean, I guess we can loop through because it's a list. Selected entities. And yeah, it's gonna be the same sort of thing here. We get the size, and we have the position. So yeah, we want to draw this rectangle. We want to draw like a rectangle around, yeah, it's gonna be lines X. Let's see what, so this is something else. Let's do one white. And also an interesting thing about the color of the selection, I was using GIMP, and in GIMP they have this like striped line that's sort of animated, and I was always wondering, like, how do they do that? Because it's like they can't be like rendering this line every time. It has to be like optimized in some way. And I really thought that they just, like, when I zoomed out a lot and I had a bunch of things selected, I saw that it's just a texture that's like diagonal stripes moving to the left, which creates this sort of illusion. So that was really clever, I thought. So I guess they have like a mask, or yeah, that sort of just shows that texture behind on those specific pixels. Okay, but anyway, this thickness is going to be, yeah, it's always going to be 1, right? Well, it depends on if this function, yeah. So this function is, because this function is drawn within the 2D mode of the camera. So if this camera is zoomed out or zoomed out very much, if you have only 1 pixel thick, that line might disappear. Or if you zoom in, the line is going to be like super thick. So what you do then is you simply divide by the camera zoom, I believe. I think I have this somewhere else as well. Oops. Wait. Where is that? Oh, I don't. Okay, but anyway, yeah, if you divide by the zoom, that means if you're zoomed out, the zoom is gonna be like less than 1. So this is gonna be like larger, which makes sense because you're zooming out, you need it to be larger to be able to see it. If you zoom in, it's gonna be smaller, so it's gonna be keeping the same like ratio to the zoom. So it's always gonna be appear as 1 pixel thick. All right. And we need the rectangle as well. I'm wondering if I should make a helper function for that as well. So we did have a helper function for this. I think maybe we'll put this in a helper function, like get entity rect. Okay, and we need entity, and we need context. Oh yeah, this doesn't need to be a pointer there. Okay, so let's go back here and we'll do get entity rectangle, select an entity, so then we don't need to call this function. Okay, so this should get us the rectangle that we want, probably. It's probably gonna be off by like the origin or half the size of the thing, but we'll fix that when we get there. Okay, so that should be that. And let's see how that looks now. So now, we need to dereference it here. And let's see. This one wants a wait. This also needs to be dereferenced. Okay. Oh, we got some errors here now. Oh yeah, so this can cause a memory error, so we'll just ignore that. Okay. So now we should potentially we are able to click on an entity. Oh, it crashed. Okay, so at least something happens. Reach unreachable code. Oh. Right, I think what happened is that we clicked on, like it selected a time map entity. I think, I don't want the time map entity to be selectable. Where did I have this? Let's see. So no, I want to go here and where was it? Yes, handle input, select. So I think what we want to do is we want to say if the entity type is time map, then we continue, because yeah, the time map is kind of like a little bit special right now. At least it doesn't have, like, you can't get the rectangle or anything like that. Okay, so let's try now. Okay. Okay, you can see it sort of works, but yeah, we need to fix a bunch of things. So if you zoom in, you can see, as I was talking about, the line is still like one thick. However much you zoom in or zoom out, it's always going to be one thick there. So that works. However, I think, yeah, we need to sort of scale this and probably also fix the origin, because I think that the top left here is painted at sort of the center of the actual sprite here. And also this is, yeah, since the player is right now at 0, 0 coordinate, that means, yeah, the position is also correct here, but for the monster here, it's actually way off, because I think the position also needs to be scaled as well. So we do have the rectangle function. So it seems like the selection, the collision detection is correct, but when we draw the rectangle, we need to scale the thing. So I think what we could do is make this scaled version. So let's get the rectangle from entity rect. Hello. What's happening? Okay. And yes, so then both the size and the position needs to be scaled. So we can just set these to be times equal context.scale, and I wonder if this works or if you have to convert it. Let's see. Oh yeah, we need to call this function as well. So let's use the scaled version here. Okay, yeah. So we need to do float from int. Well, actually, let's do it like this. Float from int. Complex.scale. And this one is a f32. And oh yeah, wait, do we need to put this as a var also? Yeah, we need to make this mutable. Oh yeah, and then we also need to return this rectangle. Okay, so now we also want to scale the width and height. Okay, let's just see how this looks, and we can adjust it accordingly. Alright, so you can see the scale is correct now. Let's try and zoom in and out. It still works. It looks a little bit big is because the player sprite is a little bit smaller than the actual window that holds it up. But the position and size of the selection box is correct now. But what we want to do as well is we want to shift it by the half the size to the top left. So the XY is actually also going to be plus width over 2 and height over 2. Oh no, not plus, minus. So it's going to be, yeah, shifted up and left to be, wait. What the? What can I? Okay, what happened there? Oh, sorry. It's scaled. So okay, let's do this. Okay, since I was using, yeah, the wrong operator there. I'm sure you could see the issue there. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now it works. Okay, and I can see also there's an issue with selecting, like if I click up here, it's not selecting, but if I move into this region here, I can select it. So the same issue comes from this one. So we also need to shift this by the origin. Actually, let's shift it by the origin right here. Like this. And then we don't need to do it here. And now we can use this operator again. That should be working. Okay, and this needs to be 4. Alright, so let's try it. Okay, yeah, that seems to work. Okay, cool. So now we can select the entities. And let's try dragging in a new entity, and we'll select that one as well. Okay, yeah, cool. So now we should cross that off. So let's see if we can implement moving an entity now. Right, so that's going to be involved like dragging the entity. It's probably not going to be that big of a deal. I think, yeah, we'll go to the input function for scene document. Alright. And you can see here, we can sort of use the same logic as we do with this part. Like, let's say you start a drag motion, then this would be the end thing happening. Except we don't want to create a new entity, we just want to move the entity to that position. So we need to be able to detect sort of a drag thing. I'm not sure if Raylib has that built in. No. So let's I guess we can make a new function that's like a move entity. Okay, let's move entity. And this is going to be interesting. So, I mean, one way you could do it is like keep the state, like save some sort of state. When the user presses the left mouse button, you enter a state which is like sort of semi drag state. It's not actually entered a drag state yet, but if the mouse moves away from that point where you clicked first in like enough distance, then you enter a drag state and you start to move the thing. So we could store that in the scene document. So we could say that we have like drag point, so drag start point, and this would be, I guess, a vector for now. And then we'll say we do this, and since if we call this after the select entity, we already have something selected. So we probably, oh yeah, we don't have a way of deselecting right now, but actually maybe we should have this in here instead. So if you select something, we also want to set the drag start point here. It's going to be mouse position. But this one is, yeah, that's just that's a vector, so that's great. Okay, so let's say this is still down, and we have, let's put this here, context scene document, oops, drag start point. Actually, I want this to be a nullable. Because it's not, yeah, if you're not starting a drag, it's gonna be null. So let's get that there. And then if we have this mouse button still down, okay, so we also want a state that's like if we are dragging. Because if we're not dragging, we want to check like how do we enter the drag state. So we want to check like, are we dragging? Then it's gonna be a lot of nesting here, but if we are dragging, then and the mouse is still down, we simply want to, so in here we want to basically move entity to mouse position. Okay, we want to move entity logic. If it's not down, that means it's been just released. Then we want to exit the drag state. So we want to set this to false. We're going to set drag start point to null. Okay. Okay, so that's all that's happening there, I believe. But if we're not currently dragging, but we have a drag start point, that means we are currently in the process of maybe starting to drag something, or if the user just clicks and slightly moves the mouse, we don't want to count that as starting a drag. So we want to wait until the distance between the drag start point and the current mouse position while the user is holding down the mouse button is large enough to actually start a drag action, so to speak. So we want to check. So this is like if we have a drag start point and we're not currently dragging, we want to check if the distance so we have, let's see, I don't really have a maths library here, I don't think. Do we have like I don't think there's like anything going on. So okay, what you could do is convert it to Rayleigh and use their distance, because I haven't implemented a distance maths for the editor. I do have it for the game, but not for the editor. But or do we actually have? No. Okay. So let's see. So we're gonna check. So drag start point is gonna be vector2 initialize with this 0 and this 1, and these are of course integers. So we're gonna have to, and this requires float, so we're gonna have to do float from int. Okay. So that's our point, drag start point, and then we need the mouse position. So that's gonna be the same thing. So get mouse position. Actually, we could probably use Raylibs. Well, actually no, because this is sort of translated as well. So we do have the mouse position, but we need to convert it as well in the same manner, like this. So this, let's call it like mouse position like that. Okay. And so now we have the drag start position and mouse position. So now we need to check if the distance. Wait. Distance. And I guess we could check squared because that's faster, I guess. And if this is more than, and a usual thing I'm gonna use is like 5 pixels. So let's do that. Actually, you know what? Do we actually want this to be world coordinates? It's probably better to have it be... I don't know. Let's just try this and see how it works. So, this is going to be the trigger point where we enter the drag state. So you're holding down a button, you haven't started dragging yet, but the distance between the start point where you clicked first and the mouse position right now is more than 5 pixels. Then we want to start a dragging. So we want to set the is dragging to true. And also what you probably want to do here is move the thing, maybe. We'll just see what we need to inch around here to see what we can do here. But this should be enough to start like a drag motion thing. And the only thing left now, I think, is to move the entity here. So I kind of want the same logic as we have when creating an entity. Right here. So let's grab this part. Because then you can like hold shift to like because it's like snapped first and then you can hold shift to not snap it. Okay, so we have the position and now we can simply say yeah, we need the entity. And we're just gonna assume that there's only one entity selected for now. So we just get the first... Oh yeah, we should probably check if there's actually things selected as well. But let's just set the position here. So we try to do this if we don't have anything selected. It's probably gonna crash. So I think what we want to do is we can also add an if here which says selected entities if the length is actually it's not this length, it's gonna be this. Wait, capacity, no, it is this length here. So if the length is 0, then we return. All right, that was a lot of things without testing, but let's see. And yeah, I mean, it sort of works. It feels maybe, and you can hold shift to move it around as well. Yeah, it seems to work actually. You can see if I hold shift, you can see now it doesn't enter the drag state, but if I move it just enough, it's gonna enter the drag state. So I click now and I wiggle it around here, but yeah, once I've moved it enough, it's gonna change. And as you can see, it sort of snaps into the center of the mouse instead of keeping sort of like the same. If you select down here, you might want to not have it move to the center of the mouse, but yeah, that's just a nitpick really. Okay, great. And also if you move out like this, yeah, I think that if you zoom in and you start to drag, you have to like move like the pixels, that it's not 5 pixels in sort of the resolution that you're looking at, like the mouse cursor, or in Windows or whatever operating system you're using. It's gonna be the pixels that's like that you have zoomed into. So you can see I'm moving like way longer now when I'm zoomed in. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, okay, great. So we got that working. Now we can move these around. And yeah, you can't. I'm trying to drag here and it doesn't crash. So great. And you can't deselect yet, but there's no point in doing that anyway right now. So okay, cool. So we got dragging working now. Yes, we can move entities. Oh yeah, and yeah, so deleting should be pretty simple. Guess we'll add one for delete. I'm not sure if I like this pattern actually, but yeah, there's a lot of words here, but yeah, whatever. Let's just make this. This should be really easy to implement. And we need the context, because it's just going to be like, if we have something selected and we press delete button, we delete the entity. So, well, one thing that we do need to do is define a delete function in the scene document. That's going to be a thing, because we need to manage the selected entities. If we delete something that's selected, then that selection is going to be like invalid. So we need to handle that. But so we're just going to say if we have something selected. So I'm just going to say this. So now we know that we have something selected. So we're just going to say selected entity is equal to, oops, scene document selected entities items 0. And yeah, that's a pointer. Yep. And then we just check. No, if key pressed, and it's gonna be key delete. If delete is pressed, then we call delete entity selected entity. Okay. So that's basically it, and but now we need to also define this function. So let's do that. Delete entity, and this is the entity that we want to delete. Okay. So first off, we want to remove the entity from the entity list. So that's gonna be also, are these, no, this doesn't need to be deinitialized. Okay, so we have scene.entities. So we need to find this one, and this is a list of pointers. Oh wait, so they probably do need to be deallocated. Oh yeah. Also, we need to deallocate them here as well. Yeah, so when you have a list of pointers like this, like if they are supposed to be living here, so this is the responsibility of deleting these ones. I'm just gonna fix this. So this is gonna be allocator destroy entity. Okay, and then let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. So since it's pointers, that means we can use the standard memory module to find sort of the index of this pointer. And you can use index of scalar, and you provide the type, and the slice is going to be entities items, and then the value is empty. Okay, so that's the so now we have the index, And there you can just say swap remove on that index. And there's no, oh yeah, and you get the entity out of there as well. So swap remove is sort of, yeah, it's an O1 operation of removing an entity. If you don't care about the order of the entity or the order of these items, you can do a swap remove to sort of remove an item inside a list, but then there's a hole there. So then you replace it with the last item of the list and reduce the length by 1. So it's a really fast operation, but it changes the order of the items if you don't care about that. Otherwise you can use ordered remove, which will bump everything below that the thing that you just removed. So it's a bit more expensive, but yeah, if you care about the order, then you want to use that instead. Okay, now yeah, so now we've removed that from the entities list, and we also need to manage the selected entities, because I mean we basically want to remove it from here as well. So this is going to be like entities index, and then selected entities index. So this is, I mean, it's going to be basically the same thing, except we are looking in the selected entities, items, and now we do the same thing actually here. And this is going to be selected entities index. There we go. Oh, so these are, I guess, yeah. So if it doesn't find anything, it's nullable, or it's going to be null. So I think if it doesn't find anything, we can just assume that's already been removed, I guess. But it's going to be unreachable, basically. Yeah, let's just do this, and it will crash, and we can fix it. Because yeah, once you've deleted it, you shouldn't be able to go in here and delete it again. Okay, so now we have that. So let's go back to here. So now this one should exist, yes. And yeah, let's try it. So we'll select this one, delete it, and yeah, it works. And if I try to delete when not having anything, nothing happens. So that's great. Okay, cool. So we can create entities, we can delete them, we can move them around. Great. I mean, that ticks off everything I had here. So now what? What else can we do that's like low-hanging fruit, basically? I mean, I guess there's not really that much. I mean, the next steps is going to be saving the scene and loading the scene to a file, and be able to import the scene in the game. But that's gonna be a bit more involved. So it's gonna be like serializing the thing into JSON. I guess we could start on it, like being able to save it at least, maybe. We have most of like UI stuff required to do it, so it's not going to be a huge thing, I guess. Well, let's just do save to file. Okay, so we'll go back to our main layout function, and now we want to go into our menu function for the scene, and if I show you here, the menu is this part right here. And so what we want to do is we want to add like a save function, and it's gonna open up a dialog which is gonna save where you can choose the location of the file. It's a native file dialog, and it's gonna save the file. So let's do that. Now here we have our, so this is the like the whole window of the sidebar there, and here we have all the different entities that you can add. So what I want to do is I want to just add a button. Wait. Don't I have that? Yes. Oh yeah. So you do if the button. So if you go in here, then that means the button has been clicked. So button, and then the label is going to be save. Arguments is just width and height, which I don't care about. And then in here we're gonna say save file. So this save file is only for the time map. So we're gonna need to create one for the scene. Let's actually go in here and check here. So yeah, this is all implemented in for the, like the tile maps, because that's what I started with this editor. But now we're extending it to work also with a scene type document. So the thing is, yeah, we have a current file. So that's also like the tile map. So this is not, this is like named specifically for, well, it's not specific for the tile map, the name itself, but the functionality here is. So I think we want to basically, let's just do this. Let's just copy this and say save file scene, scene, yeah. And we don't have a current file name for that. So we open up the save file dialog from NFD, which is a third-party library which opens up like the native dialog of the operating system. And we have a file filter, which it's wrong. So this one is gonna be, I'll actually call this tilemap file filter, and then we'll make a new one which is gonna be scene, and let's do that. So we'll use scene file filter there. So that's determining like what files you're looking at and what you can save. Well, I guess you can name it whatever you want, but it's gonna what files are showing up in the dialog. Okay, and then the path should be the same, and we need to free the path there. And then here we actually want to check scene.json instead. I think what we want to do here is we want to do this instead, like scene file filter. Maybe, because a filter could technically be several things. Whatever. Let's just do it like this. Okay, so if it so this is just a check, like if it doesn't end with .scene.json, we actually add that to the name, so that you don't have to specify .scene.json every time. Otherwise, we just save it as it is, or yeah, we have the file name here. Well, actually, this should not be current file name. This should be something that we specify here. So this is going to be, let's just do it like this. So let's do I'm just gonna call it fn. Well, fn might not work because it's a keyword. Save file name, I guess. And then we're gonna do this to make this an expression here instead. And then we'll remove this and this, and we'll say we can move the try here as well, since everything is a try there. Okay, so now we have the file name there. And we're also using like lprintz because it needs to be 0 sentinel, 0 terminated as well. Yeah, and then we just pass it in here. But yeah, this one is also just for the time map document. So let's copy this as well. Save file scene2. We're gonna have a better structure for this in the future, but I just need to make this work right now. So we can debug that, sure. Let's see, so we're creating a file and we are closing it at the end. We are creating a writer and then we serialize. So we don't have a serialize function yet, so we need to create that. Yeah, so that's like the last step to be able to just save this. So that's nice. Also, I want to hook this up before I forget to do that. So this can be context save file scene. Okay, there we go. That should be enough to hook that up. Now we just need to try. Now we just need to actually implement the serialize function. So if we go and look at how it works for the tile map, well, actually we're just stringifying ourselves here. Yeah, but we don't want to. Yeah, I think we only want the data for the scene right now. I mean, yeah, this is basically what we need to do. So we'll just serialize. We have the document, the writer, and we just do .scene. So scene should be fully serializable straight out of the box. We're using array lists, but they are actually array list unmanaged, so they are serializable. Ordinary array lists are not serializable because they include sort of the allocator in them, so which is not serializable. So if you try to serialize a normal array list, it's gonna be an error. But since these are array list unmanaged, it's gonna be fine. Okay, and then if you check scene entity here, this is serializable because it's a special structure that I made for these IDs. And then this is just a vector, which is natively serializable, and then this is just an enum, which is also that. So that should be good. So let's just try that. Okay, we got some errors. Let's do this, and yeah, should be enough. So it's complaining about not having the correct return type, so we need to put an exclamation mark there to have it like an error return type. Okay, so let's just save. And you can't actually see the dialogue right now, but trust me, it's there. And I'm just gonna save this to test. and it seems to have worked. So let's open up this file, test. Yeah, and here you can see we actually have this file now. So we have entities, we have a list of entities, and this is how the array list unmanaged is stored in, or serialized. You get an object with items in it, which is an array. But I mean, it's a little bit unnecessary to have that, but at least it works. And yeah, so now once we have that, I mean, I guess we're done with saving now. So that went a lot smoother than I thought it would. Okay, so let's let's try and do load now. Load from file. Okay, so yeah, let's do load, or open, I guess, usually called. So the open file scene. So let's go back here, and we do have open file already for the tile map. So I'm just gonna copy this as I did for the other one, and this is gonna be for the scene. And yeah, basically the same thing here. We're using open file dialog, which I believe earlier we used open save dialog instead for the other one. But anyway, so we get a file name from that, and we provide a filter, which is going to be scene file filter, and then the path that you want to open in. And then yeah, if we get a file name from the dialog, we want to free it, and then we also call this function, which we should yeah, there's a lot of things happening in this function, but we're probably gonna strip a lot of it. So let's deal with this. Okay. So this is gonna be let's see, open file. Yeah, we're opening the file. That should be fine. And if we cannot find it, I think, yeah, if we don't find it, we call new file. But this is, again, this is for tile maps only. So I think, let's just copy this and see if we can fix this as well, because it would be nice to have sort of a guard against that. So we set the current, so we don't do this, because the current file is a tile map only. Free file data, we don't want to do that right now, and well, we might do that in the future, but let's just make this work here. And then scene document, create default file data. So this one is called, oh yeah, what are we initializing the scene? We're just doing this, right? So we're just gonna do that instead. Let's see, where were we? Here. So let's just set it to that. Okay. I mean, if we have one, we probably want to just deinitialize it. Yeah. And then we initialize it back to something new slate. And then we have this one. Oh yeah, this is specific for the timing, so we don't need to do anything there. Okay. That should be fine. Right? And we also need to call this from here. Okay, so we close the file at the end, we open up a reader, and we read the JSON, or here we create a JSON reader, and we initialize that at the end. We free the data. Right, so this would be equivalent to saying scene document.initialize, and then this is going to be, well, actually, yeah, no, yeah, we do scene document. Oh yeah, so we need a deserialize function as well. So we do that, and then we pass in this allocator and the reader. So that's gonna be good. We catch an error, that's fine. Otherwise we call new file scene. And this one we don't need to do, and this one we don't need to do. Okay. Okay, so what's left now is creating this deserialize function. So let's go to time map document and see how we do that. So let's just copy this over. Scene document. Right. So this should be scene document. So the way this works is we grab an allocator to be able to allocate stuff. We grab a reader, which is the file reader, and we return possibly a scene document, or well, it's a pointer to a scene document. We'll see if it's going to be a pointer or whatever it's going to be. But and then we return. We use standard JSON library to parse this string that we get from the file. We can and then you can just you can pass in this reader, which is a JSON reader. And we use this parse from token source leaky to be able to use a reader. You pass in the type that you want to parse in, which actually is not going to be scene document. It's going to be, this is going to be like the scene data. So this is actually going to be a scene, and I don't want it to be a pointer, right? I don't want this to be a pointer. Let's see if we can make this work. Okay, so because I've been using pointers here in historically in this parse from token source leakies because of I guess what you call it, superstition. But whoops, let's see. So let's hope this works. So let's see if we can. We'll just return a scene document, and yeah, the scene is just gonna be this. Let's see, what else do we have? We have these undefined. So these things we probably yeah, we need to call load after, yeah, because these things are initialized in a load function, which is down here. Yeah, so we need to load these in as well. And then actually we could just do load right here, I guess. Scene document, right? Make it bar and then load. Return scene document, right? Okay. These things. So the thing that we need to do is select an entities, right? Select an entities, but that's just gonna be that. Actually, what you could do is you could just say .init, so to get the same thing, and then you say scene is gonna be this. Okay, that should be fine. Okay. yeah, so let's. I'm not. This is where I feel a little bit uneasy here if this is actually gonna work. And if it does work, it feels like something could go wrong later on. But yeah, so now we should have this deserialize function, and yeah. So let's go back to our layout now, and also I've hard code in order to test this now. We need to do something in, where is it? Is it main? No, it's in context, I believe. Yeah, because we're hard coding in sort of the initial parts of the scene. I think it's in the restores. Yeah, here we are like hard coding in some entities and scene document and stuff. So we don't need to do that. We do need to call load though. Oh yeah, actually, no. Never mind. Okay, so now we should enter with like a clean slate. There, okay. And now we have this open button. So I'm gonna try and open up the time app, and of course it crashes. That's probably expected. So let's check this segmentation fault. Great. We're deinitializing somewhere the self.scene. So that's probably gonna be well, actually, let's check this one. Yeah, so it's gonna be this deinitialize here, and it doesn't really seem to work there. Okay, so where's this called? This is called from a bunch of different places. And where is this called from? Scene document context 250. Okay, so it's here when we create a new file. And whoops, and where else? 215. Yeah, so it's when we try to open. Yeah, let me just restart this. Context. Okay, let me get this error again here. So hello, are you crashing or? Let me end this process. Okay. There we go. I'm not sure if we get the same error now, but probably, yeah. Okay, so it's open. No, wait. 194, yeah. So it's this one, and this then goes to 215, right? So it's it doesn't. Oh, so we're getting some sort of error message here. Error reading file, unknown field. Okay, so let's open up the file itself. So we got entities. Yeah, that's it. Let's go to scene document. And what is actually going on here? It should be correct. Scene. Why would that have... Wait, it says test.tilemap.json unknown field. Oh. Okay. Interesting. I missed something here. Open file. Absolute new file scene. The file name comes from here. Which comes from here. Oh, this is supposed to be scene file filter here. Okay, but it felt like I was actually opening. Okay, well you can't see the dialogue, but I think I actually clicked on. Maybe I didn't actually. But this is gonna be the test scene. Oh, and it works. Okay. So it was the wrong file name, and that was the only thing that was wrong. Something is not right. When something goes too well, something is not right. Okay, but anyway, it seems to work fine. And let's save that. Yes, replace. Okay, and then we quit and we open up this new file, and there we go. Now we have it saved as well. We can load it up. Okay. Well, that went way smoother than I thought. Okay, so we can both save and load now. Don't think we will get to actually importing the thing into the game today, or right now at least. I'm gonna take a lunch break here as well. So, but yeah, that was a lot of things that we got done right now. So next step is to be able to import it into the game. Actually, because there's not much more than I want in the scene editor right now. I mean, I guess one thing would be to actually implement a way to open different documents in the same sort of session and switch between the editors, like in the actual editor itself. But yeah, that's gonna be a whole, like, I need to think a lot about how that should work. But this works for now. So yeah, I mean, yeah, so I'm gonna take a lunch break now, and I might be back within like an hour or two or something. And yeah, I'm gonna start working on actually importing this into the game, because that's what's next for this. So yeah, that's gonna be it for now. But thanks very much for watching. Hope I'll see you later as well. Have a nice day. Bye bye.